Hey everybody, how's it going? It's the Daily Shooter, and today we're going to be taking a look at an optic that was recently adopted by the US military. This is the Sig Sauer Tango T6 with Hellfire Reticle in flat dark earth. Let's check it out. Okay, so here's a closer look at the Sig Sauer Tango 6T. Now, again, this is the scope that was recently adopted by the US military. It is a very tough scope, a very durable scope. It's got a lot of great features. And if you ask me, it kind of lands in the right price range. I've reviewed other scopes in this same category, and what I mean by category is the low power scopes, 1 to 6s, 1 to 4s, 1 to 8s. Anywhere from $100 all the way up to scopes that cost $3,200. And I would easily put this scope up against the more expensive scopes and say that it's as good or even better. And this one comes in at just under $1,300. So again, they didn't overcharge for the scope, which is something that a lot of manufacturers can do, especially when they get those military contracts. They can jack up the price pretty high. So I think coming in at just under $1,300, again, you're looking at an excellent scope that competes with other scopes that cost $3 or $4 grand. So let's go ahead and talk about some more specific details here, and we'll kind of get into, how this thing's set up. Now, like I was saying before, this is a 1 to 6 by 24 millimeter scope. So we have a 24 millimeter objective lens, and our magnification range goes from 1 to 6. 1 power is basically like a standard red dot. That means you have no magnification whatsoever. With the Illuminated Reticle, that's pretty much what it's like. You can engage targets that are right in front of you, in a hallway, 10, 15, 20 feet. And then when you want to extend that cartridge out a little bit further, you can go ahead and dial this thing up to 6. And you can essentially shoot as far as your capabilities will allow you to shoot. So, it's more or less like a close range to mid-range optic. But still, I know a lot of guys out there that can shoot 600 plus yards with iron sights, so they'd have no problem hitting something with a magnified optic like this that goes all the way up to 6 power. This has a 30 millimeter body, so you're going to be able to find plenty of scope rings for it. I mean, just about everybody makes something in 30 millimeter, so that's not going to be an issue. Now, this does have HD glass. It is fully multi-coated. Some of the best glass that I have ever seen. Again, I think the glass here is on par, and if not better than other scopes that are in this category that I've tried that cost 2 or 3 times as much. It is some of the clearest glass that I've ever seen. You look through this, when you dial it all the way down to 1 power, there is no distortion, no magnification changes, there's no ring around the edges, there's no bowing of any kind. It's just straight clear, and it's really nice. Now, they have the Tango 6T available in both first and second focal plane. The one that you're looking at right here is in second focal plane. Second focal plane basically means that you're not going to have any magnification of the reticle as you go through your magnification ranges. So the reticle is going to stay the same size. But in order to use the ballistic capability of the reticle itself, you're going to have this thing dialed all the way up to 6 power in order to use that. So that's something that you're going to have to keep in mind. The nice thing, though, is, again, it's set up for 7.62 and it's set up for 5.56. Now, I don't exactly know what the holdovers are for each, I had this on a 5.56 the entire time, so I'm not sure exactly what the subtensions are for switching this over and using it on a 7.62. I would just suggest you call SIG and ask them. But again, they say that this can be used for both 7.62 and 5.56. Now, we have really low profile turrets on this thing. I mean, you can see that they just, barely stick out. They're some of the lowest profile turrets that I've ever seen on a scope. The standard Tango 6T, the one that comes in black, or it's kind of like an off gray, they do have some larger uncapped turrets that you can use, the really tall turrets. But the flat dark earth one, you're going to find these little low profile turrets. These are not captured caps. Okay, so you can lose these caps, make sure that you don't lose them, because again, there's no tether or anything like that. We go ahead and take off the cap. You can see that we have some pretty nice texturing actually on the knob that's located underneath. Again, this one is in mils, so we're going to have 0.2 mil adjustments per click. One thing I want to point out is there is no audible click when I make my adjustments on this scope. It is tactile only, but it is, you got to put a bit of an effort in to turn it. So it doesn't just turn real easy where you're not going to notice the click. You go ahead and you turn this and you can feel it every single time you turn it. So again, not audible, but definitely tactile. I think you'll be able to feel that through gloves as well. So we have our windage and elevation knobs are very low profile. And then if we move this thing around to the other side, that is where we have our illumination knob. Now the nice thing about this illumination knob is that it is completely lockable. So you would pull that knob out, make your adjustments like this, and then when you're done, you're in the right spot or where you want to be. Just go ahead and pop that down, and that locks it in. That way it doesn't move at all. So it's a locking illumination knob. Now another thing I should point out here is that on our adjustments in the back right here, so we want to, our magnification ring, we actually have some fiber optics that are located right here, and this will allow you to see exactly where, let's see if I can show you here, where everything is lined up without having to lift your head above the scope. So if you're wondering what power setting you're on, you can simply look up, you'll see the fiber optics, and you'll be able to tell exactly where your magnification ring is. Now, they do give you this throw lever right here. The nice thing about the throw lever is it's set up to go over, it's set up to go over the fiber optics. So you'll still be able to see the fiber optics right there, even with the throw lever installed. So I thought that was a pretty nice touch. Now, another nice thing about this scope is that it is completely submersible down to 20 meters. And unlike some other scopes that I've seen where they're submersible, but maybe only for an hour or 2 hours, whatever they have it rated for, this actually says that it's submersible and it can be submerged indefinitely. So it's pretty strong, pretty tough, I guess. I mean, 20 meters is a pretty good depth. Most of us are never going to put our scopes underwater, but for the fact that this is a military scope now, then I think that's kind of important. So again, submersible 20 meters indefinitely. Now, this has a pretty nice amount of eye relief as well. It's one thing I think is kind of important, especially for the scope like this. So we have eye relief of about 4.1 inches, so you can scoot your head back pretty far, which is nice. I mean, if you're at the range and you're just having fun and you're just plinking, shooting around, you can put your cheek in the same spot every time. But if you're going to be using this for 3-gun, if you're going to be using it for competition, military use, I mean, your head's going to be all over the place, and you're going to need that extra length of eye relief. If you're looking around barriers and stuff and you're trying to get your head in the right position, having that extra eye relief is definitely going to help. So yeah, again, I think it's one of the finest 1-to-6 scopes that I've ever used. Now, a couple other things I want to point out real quick. This has 9 different daytime illumination settings and a couple night vision settings as well. With the illumination, this is one of the very few 1-to-6s that I've ever used, where on the brightest setting, it's very daytime visible. It's actually easy to see this reticle during the day, and it gives you really good contrast when you're using it on that brightest setting. Another thing that I like is that there is an off position in between each one of the brightness levels. So between 9 and 8, 7 and 8, 6 and 7, and so forth. So you don't have to, twist the dial all the way back in order to turn it on or off. Having those little spots in between each brightness level is nice. And then again, because it was adopted by the military, I think that it's really important that it has that night vision setting, or at least the capability to run this thing with night vision. So again, that's excellent. Now, another little small thing I want to point out is that this actually has an indexing line right here. So if you're going to be out in the field, or you just don't have a bubble level and you need to put this thing on a scope and on a set of rings, there is an indexing line right here. You plop this thing on the rings, index the rings with that line, and it will help you level the scope without any bubble level or any other assistance from a leveling device. So again, just that little indexing line right there, put that in your rings, and it'll allow you to line that up. So again, it really does have a lot to offer. 20-meter waterproof, 1-to-6, excellent clear glass, nice bright illumination, low profile turrets in that Coyote FDE color, just fiber optics. Now, you name it, this is honestly one of the best 1-to-6s that I have ever reviewed. Again, I think it blows some of the other more expensive scopes out of the water. Now, I should mention that this was sent to the channel by Optics Planet. If you guys are interested, you could use the discount code TDS5. I will put a direct link over on my website. My website's thedailyshooter.com. That'll be the first link in the description box. Just go ahead and click on that. It'll take you to the corresponding video on my website, and you'll be able to click on it from there and go over to where this thing is on Optics Planet, and then use that discount code if you want to save yourself a little bit of money on it. So again, it's definitely an optic worth checking out that's got some great features. Now, I want to give a big shout out to my Patreons who help make videos like this possible. I also want to give a big shout out to the Firearms Policy Coalition and Spartan Arms for helping me out as well. Thank you all very much. I really do appreciate you guys watching. Please like, subscribe. Have a great day.